Okay, you did it. All right, you made it out of the local scene. You're on a regional scene. You fought to the UFC. You got signed to the contenders. You won your fight. Now you have an opportunity to change your family's life. Unfortunately, that's not the truth. Let's talk about it. Okay, so a lot of people talk about it from the Contender Series, like, oh, he's fighting for the contract, he could finally change his family's life. But let's look at the reality of that. First of all, you fought, you won, you got a contract. Now your contract on Contenders is 10-10. And which that means is if you win in the UFC, your first fight is going to be 10-10. So that's $20,000. Okay, take off $2,000, go to your trainers. Okay, so that's 10%. So now you're at 18. Take off another 10%, go to your manager. Okay, so that's another $2,000. So now you're down to $16,000. Take off another 10%, maybe even more. I'm just stopping at 10% just for taxes. Okay, so now you're down to $14,000. Okay, and the biggest problem with that, and you're like, well, still $14,000. That's probably the biggest payday of your life, right? Of your fight career, because mostly in the regional scene, the local scene, you get paid 2 and 2, something like that at the max. However, that $14,000 is going to have to last you about 4 to 5 months. The UFC, you're averaging the fight in the UFC about 2.5 times a year, right? Like that's the average. Sometimes it's less if you got injured. Sometimes it's more if you're a really exciting fighter and they want you. But typically about 2.5 times is what the going average is. Okay, so now that $14,000 is gonna have to last you about 4 to 5, maybe even 6 months, longer if you're injured. So what does that mean? That means that your everyday expenses, your food, also your training. That means you can't go out there and ball till you fall. You know what I'm saying? You can't go out there and get the chains, get the new vehicle, you know, put money down in the house, you know, and especially if you're one of those fighters like moved away from your family, you know, from your kids, because you need to be in a bigger gym with better trainer partners, or this is all you got, like you don't have another job. That $14,000 really, when you're making about $2 to $3 grand a month, that's not a lot in today's economy. So what is my and by the way, I should have prefaced it with the fact that I'm not shitting on the UFC pay. It is what it is. What I'm saying, I think the expectations when people get into the UFC should be minimized and should be mitigated to the fact that you have to understand what you're stepping into, and you really haven't done nothing yet, right? Maybe until you get a couple bonuses or get to your second contract, or definitely after some big wins. So I give you an example, like my son. Like, see, the beautiful thing about my son is that he continued to keep working. He never quit his job. It's so funny. He's a service advisor at Hugh Berger Subaru. So if you want to get your oil change and all those things, he's the guy you go see. And people will pull up and be like, wait, ain't you in the UFC? Why are you still working here? He's like, I want to maintain my job. I make good money here. I make bonuses. I get some benefits. I get some days off. And in my job, respect what I do. So yeah, just because you fight in the UFC, that doesn't mean you are super rich and you are famous and now you could just, once again, you're the LeBron James, you could just be making millions. So what I tell people is that, A, keep your job. If you have a job, keep your job, right? Keep working. Find a way to get the schedule to work so you can still train, get all the training in, but you can still make some good money. Because the fact is, even if you're in the UFC, even if you're making money, guess what? You can lose a couple fights and then you're out of the UFC. Then what? And then people are like, well, what if I win and I get that bonus? You do realize it takes 10 weeks to get that $50,000. That's 2.5 months. It took my son forever. He was getting to a point that he was starting to think that he was never going to get the bonus. Okay, so money don't just come at you. Okay, so maintain your job. If you're in school, stay in school. Get a trade. I get it. When you get to a certain point in the UFC, you're making a lot of money, then maybe you could quit. But just because you signed that contract doesn't mean you're rich. And it doesn't mean you are financially stable and you haven't changed your family life yet. But the good news is you have the opportunity to do so if you stay the course, stay focused, stay training, keep your money tight, be frugal, maybe thinking about how you could save money, maybe invest money, but don't act like you like balling, right? Don't fake the funk, because that could put you in a bad place. So that's my little thoughts and feel on UFC pace, especially starting out when you just get into the UFC. Understand the game. When you understand the game, you understand the rules, then you can find success. All right, guys, hard work, dedication.